What if Bama landed a Bama? We'll explain in this podcast.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back into Locked On Bama, AHSA Radio Network's Luke Robinson. That's me. Alabama internet legend Jimmy Stein. That's him. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. We'll talk about FanDuel in just a little bit. I want to thank you every day for being here every day. Thank you, newbies, for being here today. And thanks, everybody, for making this your first listen every single day. You guys are the best. Jimmy, lots to talk about today, especially kickoff times announced. We've got some recruiting news. We got your roster ranking countdown continuing. So we got a lot going on. We're going to start with recruiting. And I want to start in Indiana, of all places. There is a kid who is the number one receiver in the 2027 class.
Nationally.
And his name is
Nationally, not just in Indiana.
Yep. Yeah. Monshun Sales. Awesome name.
It is
awesome. What a name for a wide receiver. That's so cool. It's much better than Monshun Accounts Receivables.
It's also got a couple of nicknames. I know you're about to cover one, but there's also a second one that's cool.
Well, he's from Indianapolis, Lawrence North, the high school. And again, he is the number one ranked receiver in the 2027 class. And his nickname just happens to be Bama. And when he was interviewed by Steve Wiltfong here recently, he of Fong Bomb fame, he said, yeah, you already know Bama is big, big, big time. That's three bigs that he threw in there. Pretty big deal. Alabama offered him yesterday and immediately moved up to number one in his ranking, his own personal list. Yep. And big potential here. For those who don't know, I'm going to let Jimmy go off on him here, but he is 6'3", 180, and he is a very pretty wide receiver. He's a new gazelle. He's a gazelle.
Yeah, any kid that's ranked number one, I know it's early. The number one ranking per position is very likely, let's be honest, very likely to change between now and the whole, it's a whole cycle away. This is like being the number one receiver on Mel Kiper's big board 11 months before the draft. A lot can change. So don't assume he will definitely be number one when 27 rolls around, but he's obviously got a way better chance than most because he's there right now for good reasons. As to the nickname Bama, and it's fun and it's funny, and the kids putting Alabama number one. There are no such thing as locks anymore. There really never were. But now, especially now, there's no such thing as a lock in recruiting anymore, particularly with the current system, because all it will take is one DM from Texas and $1 million offer, and now the kid's nickname is Texas. So, I mean, that's
no. He's like, my nickname's still Bama,
but I'm going to go to Texas. His nickname is also, by the way, he also goes by Showtime, which is fun because we've already got a Hollywood. So you get a Hollywood and a Showtime in one room, you're cooking with gas.
Yeah, but here's the problem. They won't be on the same team, right?
They could be in 20.
Well, if Ryan comes back for his senior year.
No. This kid's, I guess that's right. Yeah, this kid's freshman year would be the fall of 27. And that fall of 27 would be Ryan's third year.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they could play for one semester.
We could go from Hollywood to Showtime.
Yeah, but they'll be together on the same team. Now, of course, Ryan will be the junior that's catching a million balls, and Showtime will be the kid that will, probably wouldn't play a ton based on what the situation in the room is. But they would be on the same team for at least one semester.
All right. I want people to understand this is how our podcast works. Other people wouldn't go into this argument, but I'm going to ask again. I don't think they'll be on the same team because if he's 2027, see, Ryan is a sophomore next year, which is 25, then a junior.
That's right. No, you are correct. If Ryan's you are correct. You're correct.
It's so rare I win an argument with you. I'm going to take my victory lap.
Yeah, I wasn't going to argue until after I thought it through a second time and thought I was still. But no, you are correct. If Ryan is 3 and done and it's looking that way.
Yeah.
If Ryan's 3-and-done, yeah, there would be no. As a matter of fact, I will say at the time when Ryan decides to go pro early that the reason he went pro early is because you can't have Hollywood and Showtime in the same room.
Yeah,
That's why he left.
We're going to get and then in the 2030 class, we'll get HBO. In 2023, we'll get Skinamax. So we're going to have all the cable.
That'll be a player. I'd offer that kid.
All our games would be late kickoffs. All right. The staff is also making some important visits today. Not the least of which, I know we've talked about him a lot recently, is Tank Jones. And look, the reason I think his visit today by the staff is so important is because he's visiting Auburn this weekend. Now, I still think Tank Jones ends up at Alabama. I still think Tank Jones will be high on Alabama. And it sounds like Alabama's going to end up being his last visit, I believe, but I'm not 100% yet. So I still think he goes there. But it is nice for Courtney Morgan and Freddie Roach to show up there and prioritize Tank Jones right before he goes on his Auburn visit.
Yeah, one thing that's interesting is C-Rob, that's Christian Robinson. He's been visiting Tank Jones in Mobile. He's done that before. And Tank is sort of being recruited as a Wolf, and Christian coaches the Wolf position. Now, a lot of people like me, I think long-term Tank Jones is probably a Bandit because I think he's just going to be a really big kid. And I think he's going to be a Bandit. Now, it's interesting that Freddie Roach, Bandit coach Freddie Roach, is going to be visiting with him today. I'm sure part of it is because Freddie's a great recruiter. They like Freddie. And Freddie's from Alabama. He played at Alabama. But I think it's also because, obviously Tank Jones could end up playing that position. And, of course, Courtney Morgan's there doing Courtney Morgan things. And I think Tank Jones is going to go to Alabama. I mean, in terms of like if we're predicting today, which is why people listen to the show for fun predictions that may or may not always prove true. But I would predict Tank to Alabama today. But I do worry about this one. I mean, my confidence level in it would not be well over 50%. I mean, but I like Alabama's position. Auburn is what I worry about the most. But I also will throw in, I don't think we should rule out the possibility of him leaving the state for a major NIL deal that an Alabama or Auburn would be unwilling or unable to match. So. But I think it's Alabama for Tank Jones. I really do. I think staying local sort of wins out with him.
Yeah, and they're also going to see Kamari Brooks, who's another edge, and they're going to see. Yeah, he's great. And then Nick Abrams, a linebacker. So, and I'm not trying to gloss over them, but I did want to throw out something else about Sedarian Morgan. I found out. Yeah. One of my buddies who started the AHSA radio network and does the play-by-play for BRHS. I had the color commentator for BRHS on the other day, and then Brett Pritchard, who does the play-by-play for BRHS, Benjamin Russell High School, where Sedarian Morgan goes. He interviewed Sedarian the other day because they're doing just going around the state finding the top 10 players. So they interviewed Sedarian, and he asked him what the significance of the July 2nd announcement date is, because it is sort of random, right? I mean, it's like right before July 4th. And he said, number one, it's his grandmother's birthday.
Grandma's birthday.
And then he also said, it's the day that my mom found out she was pregnant with me. And he said, but I didn't know that until later on. He said, so takes on more significance, but I've never heard that before. Frankly, my wife keeps up with everything that Sela, my 8-year-old, is doing because it's our only child. It's her only child. I obviously have three children by a previous marriage. And, but Sela is our only child together. And, Sela is like, when you only have one, you keep up with everything. By the time you get to number 3, you're like, does he have on shoes? Okay, I'm not worried about the rest of it. But I don't even remember when the day we found out that we were pregnant with Sela. So I just found that date interesting. Like, what a cool date to remember that the mom remembered it. So I thought that was interesting. And also going along the line of recruiting, and you're talking about Tank Jones and going out of state. Look, for all the world, about 2 weeks ago, it seemed like Jackson Cantwell, who a lot of people think is the number 1 player in the country from Missouri, would be heading to Georgia. Well, Miami secured his commitment yesterday. I don't know if it's going to stick. Who knows?
Yeah.
But Pete Anakos was taking a lot of ribbing from the player himself because the player's like, well, it really wasn't all about the money. And my answer to that is, look, I think both things can be true, that you connect well with Mario Cristobal and the money didn't hurt. I'd be willing to say this. If I were Pete from On 3, my comeback to that would be, okay, would you go to Miami if there were no money offered? And the answer is no. And that's okay. That's okay. Nobody's mad at you. But
they never say it's about the money. Even when Shohei Ohtani signed for what, like $1 billion?
Yeah.
You know, he liked the weather.
Yeah.
I mean, for whatever reason, we're conditioned in life.
Because it makes you sound greedy. And
it makes you sound, it makes, I guess they're PR people. Like, don't say it's about the money.
I mean,
all of us in our lives, all of us make decisions about our professional lives largely based on money. I don't know why we hold athletes to a different standard, but
yeah. I mean, and because we want to believe they care as much about their teams as we care about their teams. And they probably don't. When you're in it, you don't care about it as much. When you're just in amongst it, It's
like the NFL draft. All these kids grew up and they have a favorite NFL team that they cheered for growing up.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what their favorite, like Tyler Booker, I think his was the Steelers, actually.
Yeah.
They all have a favorite team growing up. But when they get the call that they're drafted, how many of them go, oh, crap, it's the Chargers.
Yeah.
Dang it.
Nobody.
Dang. Oh, no, the Chiefs. What do you mean I got to go to Arizona and play for the Cardinals? I mean, so I really, when they say, well, college football is different, it's different to everyone listening to the show, because I would bet most everyone listening to this show has a preference for college football over the NFL, which is not the norm, but that I think most everybody listening to our show does. So to us, we say, well, college football is different. But really, is it anymore?
No,
I mean, not like it was. And as far as Jackson Cantwell going to Miami, one last point, Alabama was very involved with Jackson Cantwell at one point. He liked Alabama a lot. The very fact he chose Miami is the tangible proof I needed to know that Alabama was never realistic here.
And his agent is apparently Drew Rosenhaus, who is a Miami guy, lives in Miami. And I mean, anyway, again, I'm not mad at him. I'm really not. And I'm a Dolphins fan. And if the Seattle Seahawks drafted me, I'd be like, okay. They were like, how do you feel about this as a Dolphins fan? Does Seattle have a pawn shop where I can cash this check right now? Yes, they do. I'm a Seahawks fan.
I wonder if this conversation happened from Drew Rosenhaus to Jackson Cantwell. Hey, you need to sign with Miami. They're going to pay you $2 million. Really? $2 million? Yeah, a booster's paying it. One booster is paying the $2 million. Drew Rosenhaus probably said, yeah, me.
And I'm getting a commission.
Yeah, exactly. I'm paying you $2 million and I'm taking 10% of it.
Hey, if you like winning money that you can eventually use to help get your team to be playing a lot better by bringing in some recruits, and you want to win money, go to FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, FanDuel has it all, and they even have a little thing that I'm going to put here at the bottom, just like that. I'd forgotten to do it for a second because I was so excited to tell you about it. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. Which players are showing up in the biggest moments?
SGA.
That SGA is. The Joker is, even though they lost last night. They got a bunch of – all these players are showing up. How could a $200 bonus in bets add to the excitement for your first $5 bet hits? It would raise it, I think, if I do some quick math, 400%. I don't even know if that's right. That could be right. Look, new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you get 200 in bonus bets. That's what I was talking about. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. Uh-oh. It also dawned on me when you were talking about Freddie Roach, like, why have we not just been calling him Coach Roach And then I
Coach
thought,
Roach.
because that is not what you want to be called. And it reminded me of a Louis C.K. bit when
Roaches are unpopular.
Louis C.K. had like a bat in his attic or something, or that had like gotten down to his kitchen. So he called an exterminator and was like, "Hey, do you have somebody that can help me get rid of this bat?" And she goes, "Yes, I have a guy that specializes in bats, and he's good at getting flying rodents out of various places, and he's a human being." And Louis C.K. said, "It sounds like you're trying really hard not to say he's Batman." And that has always made me laugh. But anyway, all
It's
right.
a funny thing. Like, next time I see Freddie Roach, I'll say, "Coach, you remind me of this Louis C.K. bit about bats."
It was sort of a long way, a circuitous route to get there. All right. Number 78 on your roster countdown is a guy that, frankly, Jimmy, I'm going to tell you right now, I think he's going to be higher than this at the end of the year, and that's
Could
Luke
be.
Metz.
Could be. The guys down here at the, quote, bottom of the rankings or near the bottom are projected red shirts. I'm projecting Luke Metz to red shirt. That could prove wrong. Because I do think Luke Metz has a chance to be a good special teams player. That might get him on the field for more than 4 games. Here's the first guy we've gotten to, though, on the list, Luke, even though this is the 5th player that we've discussed. So we're moving along. The 5th player we've gotten to, as there's only 78 days as we record this, 78 days till the start of fall camp. Luke Metz is the first player we've gotten to where there's been some buzz. There was some buzz in spring practices that Luke Metz, in fact, was good. And of course, every kid that you recruit and you evaluate as a take, you believe when you take them, they're all going to be good. But it is nice to get them on campus and have a few practices and say to yourself, I think we were right about this one. It looks like we were right. I think he's going to be good. And I think Luke had a really solid spring. He got a lot of reps because we had so many injuries at the top of the inside linebacker league. Lawson out all spring. Justin Jefferson couldn't really participate in any contact type stuff. So that opened up the door for some of these younger inside linebackers to get more reps. Luke Metz took advantage of that and did pretty well. But we do have good depth. Assuming everyone gets healthy there, I suspect that the main inside linebackers that play almost all the snaps will be Deontay Lawson, Justin Jefferson, and Nakai Greenhill, the transfer from Colorado. I think the next up guy, based on what happened this spring, is going to be QB Reese. And we'll discuss him way up, probably, spoiler alert, maybe as high as somewhere in the 30s. We'll get to QB Reese. He's way up there. With those 4 playing most of the snaps, you can get, and Caden Jones is still out there who played last year as a true freshman. He'll be a sophomore. And then you have 3 of these inside linebackers that are all freshmen: Luke Metz, Duke Williams, and Abdul Sanders. They're not all going to play. I mean, someone's redshirting, right? So I got Luke Metz down here at 78, but I'm very high on him. I think he's going to be a good player and a major contender to be a starter at Alabama down the road. But excited to have him on the team. Probably red shirts. We'll see if he's so good on special teams that they don't want to take him off the field, though.
Mark my words. If QB Reese, I know they said that, but if QB Reese gets on the field, we're not going to be able to take him off.
I love that.
That's my. He may not make it
before you even, as soon as you said "mark my words," I predicted in my head what you were going to say, and I agree. He's one of those guys, and I've heard that quote. That coaches use that quote. I ever tell you about Saban talking to? I think it was about Vlahos. He inherited the William Vlahos commitment and taught to his high school coach. And say,
because there's no chance
Vlahos had short
recruited him.
Absolutely none. Yeah. Absolutely none. Because Nick Saban was a believer in prototypes. Guys were a certain height. They had certain arm length. Vlahos was not only shorter, he had short arms. But then the coach said, hey, if you don't like short arm guys and you're not going to play him, don't make the mistake of putting him on the field. Because once you do, you're not going to take him off. And that's what happened, really. And I like that you said that about QB Reese. A similar thing. Here's a guy that a lot of SEC staffs wouldn't recruit over size alone. But, boy, you put him on the field, it's going to be hard to get him off it.
And I also want to add something to yesterday's podcast. We were talking about famous punters, and we mentioned I said I got 3 that I truly remember, and that's Reggie Roby, Chris Moore, and J.K. Scott. But I also do remember Lane Bearden. I mean, I also can name some other Alabama punters, but Lane Bearden also holds a special place because, as somebody said, he played a whole season with a torn ACL. As a punter, that's a big thing. That's like you're a masterful piano player and you have no fingers. Like, how did you do this?
It's like a giraffe with no neck.
Is a giraffe with
No neck.
still a giraffe?
That no neck giraffe. Boy, he gets talked about.
Is a giraffe with no neck still a giraffe? That's a great question. By the way, I'm going to tell you 2 other quick things that happened that I find funny, and you can hit the fast forward button if you want to, because they have nothing to do with Alabama. But number one, I also heard this morning, Demetri Martin, another comedian, he said, I was eating something and I looked on the package. It said made with natural and artificial flavoring. He said, I would have been scared if it had said made with supernatural flavoring. He said, why don't you just say flavors? And then the second thing is, I was at my soccer game for my child this past weekend. It was raining like heck. And we had gotten all these emails about we're playing come rain, come shine. I don't care if it's raining cats and dogs, if it's acid rain, whatever it is, we're playing.
If it's acid rain, we're playing.
Well, then we get out there and it's raining like crazy and the field's sloppy and everything's awful. And we're not playing. And I was like, what? I was like, I'm already wet. I'm not getting any wetter. So let's play. All the kids are out there. All the kids are out there playing in the.
They're wet.
In the thing. And they said, well, the ref's already left. He quit. He said, I'm out of here. I'm not doing this. And so I talked to the other coach and she said, well, let's just go ahead and scrimmage and not let it count. And we'll get a parent to referee. So this parent was refereeing. Now, in my defense, when I get to the ultimate part of the story, he was wearing a hood initially, like, to block the rain. And I was like, man, that's so awesome. Thank you, man. Thank you so much for doing this. And he took his hood off for just a second. And I did know I recognized him somehow, some way, but I couldn't place it. I was like worried about the soccer game. And I said, hey, I'm Luke Robinson. Thank you for doing this. Really appreciate it. What's your name? He said, my name's Jimmy. We were just in the Dominican together for a week. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's where I know you from. I was like, my bad. I mean, it didn't dawn on me, and it wasn't like I randomly met him somewhere and he's like, I met you at a bar 4 years ago. No, we were in another.
You were on vacation together
for a week. Now, also in my defense, I'd never met him before that. But
by the way, I'm Jimmy. Me and you, we do the show every day.
That's what. From now on, that's how we're going to introduce you. This is Jimmy.
We've been doing. By the time I introduce myself, we've done the show 5 days a week for like 4 years now, and before that, we were talking Tuscaloosa.
But there's nobody who has a worse memory about other people than me. I can remember Lane Bearden played with a torn ACL. I cannot remember a guy I went to the Dominican with a month ago.
When you're in the Dominican, keep your head down.
All right. One of my literal favorite things is when TV times are announced. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it makes it feel like it's more real.
Yeah.
Okay. So TV times have come out for the first weekend. And man, what a weekend. This first weekend is banana. I'm almost mad. I'm going to the Florida State game. I'm not mad about it because I want to go. And I'm going with some good friends and I can't wait. It's going to be fun. But part of me is like,
sure you're going with good friends? Are you going to know them when you get back?
It is. I'm not going to live that down. And I mean, it's awful. Anyway, all right. So I'm excited to go. Well, I really am because it's going to be fun. It's going to be hot.
Hot.
It's going to be hot. Whatever. If Forrest Gump were to, describe hot, it'd be heat coming from the ground, heat coming from above, heat coming at you sideways. That's what this will be like.
Yeah, it'd be like standing at the top of the tallest mountain at the equator.
Yeah.
Although if you're at the tallest mountain at the equator, is that cold or hot?
But it's something.
I don't even know.
Well, yeah, I haven't been there yet.
You're standing in a bucket of lava.
Yeah.
On the equator.
And like they're trying to cool you off with a flamethrower. That's what it's like. And
it will be a lot like that
in Tallahassee, and it's going to be swampish, and there's going to be mosquitoes, and there's going to be all this stuff. And I can't wait for it. But what I really can't wait for, I mean, of course, I'm anxious for the Bama game at 2:30. But first of all, you got Friday night, you got Auburn at Baylor. That game isn't super sexy.
I watched that one.
I know.
I think it'll be tight. I do. Early this year, I was predicting Baylor to win, and I think I even said that on the show.
Yeah,
I'm now backing off. I'm backing off that. I think I might go Auburn to win, but tight, closer than the experts
the Baylor
think.
coaching staff needs a good showing in that one.
Sawyer Robertson is a good player. He's going to be better than whoever quarterbacks at Auburn. Sawyer Robertson will be the best quarterback on the field.
That's a take. That's a hot take. I like it. But it's also Friday night's also going to be high school football, which I love. And then so the next day you get up and it's the first real day, and it's Texas at Ohio State game 1. Okay, that's awesome. Then it's Bama FSU. And by the way, you also have Tennessee Syracuse in Atlanta. And that game has just become much more interesting because I think Tennessee came down. Syracuse didn't get moved up. Tennessee came down with Nico leaving. And so that game is going to be tighter. And then you got LSU and Clemson that night. So when I'm leaving the Florida State game, assuming I don't end up staying there, we're going to be driving it. And that's what my friend was like, I don't know if we want to be driving back. I was like, but if we are driving back, we can be listening to LSU Clemson. That's also cool. Mm-hmm. There's part of me that still loves listening to other games on the radio.
I do too.
So I can sort of imagine what's happening. But and then you got Vitek on Sunday against South Kakalaki, and I think Notre Dame Miami on Sunday. I mean,
it's what a weekend.
Awesome stuff.
It's so close. And again, what a great day of football. How about this? If I said that 3 games, that triple header of Ohio State versus Texas, Alabama versus FSU, and Clemson versus LSU, how is the playoff going to be any better? How is the playoff going to be any better? I mean, in terms of like the quarterfinals, when there's four games, there's an Elite 8 and 4 games left. I can't imagine it's going to be any better or more entertaining than that Saturday is going to be while you're getting scores of even other games that you care about. But yes, starting with Auburn Baylor on Friday, even Thursday night, I'll be so excited. I mean, I think the main game Thursday night's Nebraska Cincinnati, which is pretty bad for a first Thursday night, but I'll be so excited to see college football that Nebraska Cincinnati will be exciting to me. And but of course, boys, starting Friday night, fantastic. And the Alabama Florida State game, I will point out strategically, advantage Alabama in this sense. You're going to get into your depth. No one's playing your starters for 60 minutes in that heat. You're going to get into your depth. Alabama normally plays quite a few guys. They did last year, substituted quite a bit. I don't want to say there's a home field advantage, or certainly not, but Alabama practices in extreme heat, just like Florida State. It's going to be about depth to an extent. I think advantage Alabama, you're probably better off playing that game at 2:30 as opposed to the night game when it's cooler, depth won't matter as much, and the fans tend to be louder at night games. I assume it's
not going to be much cooler. Look, I'll tell you something. Night heat in the South is almost worse because you think it's going to be cooler, and you walk out there and it just punches you in the face.
Yeah. When Mobile had that AA team, I remember a quote from other teams that would play in Mobile, and I remember one I don't remember who it was, but some minor leaguer from another team that's playing Mobile was asked about playing in the heat, and he's like, I think the hottest heat I've ever been in was a night game in Mobile, Alabama.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's because of humidity in the South. That humidity, you can literally have to push it off of you. It's like a coat.
It's like it's on your back. My son goes to Arizona State, and the heat out there is like it's a bunch of darts coming at you. But the heat in the South is like it's pushing down on you, and you're just crawling to your car by the end of the trip.
That could also be the drinking.
No,
maybe we're doing that too.
That is very fair.
That's why we can't get off the ground.
This episode should have been brought to us by BetterHelp. I need a lot better help getting in my car in the South. All right, that's going to do it for today's pod. We'll be back tomorrow with more. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.